Hi, I'm Phyllis from SouthernFrugal.com. Today we're going to make some homemade hamburger buns. Now, when I make them, I go ahead and make a whole bunch. So this recipe is going to make about 20 buns. And the reason I do that is because they're a lot of trouble to make, but they freeze very, very well. So I make a whole bunch at one time. Alright, so here we go. It's a pretty simple recipe. You want to have 2 cups of water at 110 degrees. And I just check mine with a regular meat thermometer, just an inexpensive meat thermometer. And I actually get it a little over 110 because once you pour it in the bowl, it'll start immediately cooling. So to the 2 cups of water, and by the way, you want distilled water or water that really doesn't have any chlorine in it, because that's going to kill the yeast a little bit. So to the 2 cups of water, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of dry yeast. And you know, if you're getting the little packs like you can get in the store, I would add 2 packs. Alright, so to the yeast, I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of sugar. And I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of powdered, non-fat powdered dry milk. Y'all see that? Dump that in. Alright. And I'm going to also add 1 tablespoon of salt because we're going to be using 6 cups of bread flour. So you need 1 tablespoon of salt. I'm just going to mix that in. Now I'm not going to prove out my yeast because I know my yeast are okay. But if you want to prove them out, you just put the yeast in the water and mix them up a little bit and let them sit for 5 or 10 minutes to see if they foam. If they do, you know they're alive. Alright. So now we've got 6 cups of flour. Now I use this type measuring, really 8-cup measure, just because once you start measuring as many as 6 cups of flour, trust me, you lose count and you might miss it. So better to, you know, get a larger measuring cup and measure it all out at one time. Alright, now we've got that all mixed in. And now I'm going to go ahead and add the butter. Now this is what's going to make the buns soft, okay? So this is 1/3 cup of melted butter, but you don't want it hot, you want it sort of just barely warm. Go ahead and mix that in with the liquid. Alright, so now we're ready to add in our flour. And what I like to do is add a little bit of it in and still be able to use the whisk, because the more you mix up the flour, the more the gluten's going to develop in it, and that's what you're looking for. So I'm just going to add 2 really big spoonfuls in there and just start whisking it. Now we're going to actually let this dough for the hamburger buns rise 3 different times. And it is a little involved, but the end product is so good, I'm sure you're going to want to do it. Because once you make homemade hamburger buns, you really don't want to ever have the kind you buy in the store anymore, because of course in these there are no preservatives. So, and they definitely taste many, many times better. So I'm going to keep mixing this up with the whisk for as long as I can till it starts coming together. Then I'll have to use my hands. So I think we can add another big blob in there. In fact, why don't we do 2? Alright, so it's already almost too much for the whisk to handle. So we're going to take that out and then start adding this flour in. The rest of it. I've got 6 cups of flour here. Now I might not need it all, so I'm just going to mix it in, you know, a little bit at a time. at some point here I'm going to have to get my hands in there and start kneading it and getting it thoroughly mixed. And that looks like about right now. Go ahead and put a little more flour in. So I've held back probably about, I don't know, 2 cups or so. Because every flour is different, so if the flour has actually got, you know, like more gluten in it or is drier, then it wouldn't take as much. So just get it to absorb that flour into the liquid. And again, this is going to make 20 hamburger buns. And what we might do is make part of them in hot dog buns. I've done a video on the hot dog buns, but we might just do some hot dog buns too out of this. Whoops. And what you're looking for is a soft dough. And I think we're about there already. And this is hard work. That's why you want to make a big batch of them while you're doing it, because it's just as easy to make 20 as it is to make like 6. Alright, let's see. A little more flour. See if I can get that to come together now. And to knead it, you just pull it over, mash it down. Pull it over, and I'm mashing it down with my knuckles. Pull it over and mash it down. Some people do it with the heel of their hand, but I actually had rather do it in a bowl. I guess mainly because I don't like a bunch of mess everywhere. Or if you put it on a flat surface, you're just going to have flour everywhere. I mean, I get a little flour, you know, on the outside area, but it's not like you're, you know, got a ton of it everywhere. Alright, so this looks like it. See if I can get my fingers cleaned off here. A little more flour. And all this will go right into the dough, because we're just going to keep kneading it. Alright, that'll work. Let's pull it over. Now we're going to be kneading this for about 8 to 10 minutes until it kind of looks like a big rubber ball, and it's got the consistency of a rubber ball. In other words, see, when I do it like this now, it'll kind of split apart. Once you've kneaded it enough, it won't split apart like that. And I'll be adding just a little more flour along and along. Alright, when we get this all kneaded and it's ready to be put in the bowl to rise, we'll be back. Alright, I've finished kneading the dough, and this is what it should look like. See how smooth it looks? So what I'm going to do is just push it under and kind of pinch the bottom all together as much as you can. And I've cleaned my bowl out, and I greased it with a little bit of Crisco. So what I'm going to do is take the ball of dough and just kind of wallow it around in there to grease the top of it. And that's so it won't stick to the saran wrap that we're going to put on top of it. And also it keeps it more moist. Alright, so we're ready to let this rise, and we want to let it rise until it's doubled in bulk. We're going to put it right over there on that little hot pad. Got a little metal trivet under it, the hot pad, a little pot holder on top of it, because I don't want it to get too hot. And I'm going to turn my little hot pad down to medium. I might even turn it down to low. But we just want it, a little warm area. I'll also put a little towel over it to keep it in the dark. Alright, we'll be back when this doubles in bulk. Okay, our dough has doubled in bulk. And now, because we want the hamburger buns to be light and airy, what we're going to do is let it rise again. But first, we have to punch it down. So I'm just going to take the cover back and just knock the air out of it. Punch it all the way back down. Punch those little bubbles out. In other words, we're just deflating it, that's what we're doing. In fact, we might even turn it over. Yeah, we'll just turn it over too. All right, now we're going to let it rise again for about 45 minutes this time. So I'm just going to set my little timer, 45 minutes. Let it rise up again, and we'll be back. Okay, this dough has risen for the second time. And now we are ready to make some buns out of this. So I'm just going to punch it down again and cut it right in half. All right, we're ready. I'm going to position this camera a little bit better. Hold on. There. That ought to work. All right, so I took the advice, I'm sorry I don't remember who, but someone wrote in and said put a damp dishcloth under your little plastic mat, that way it won't slip, and they were exactly right. So I'm going to use my rolling pin on this. I'm really hoping I don't need any more flour on these. Roll them out. I'm going to use more flour. Just to be sure. Sprinkle a little tiny bit on there. Okay, now we're ready. So roll them out, you know, pretty much as flat as you can get them. I'll still keep them on my little pie rolling plastic sheet. Now you can, you know, make these in little balls and then mash them out, but I'd really prefer to cut them out. I think they make a more uniform bun that way. Well, burner knobs are in the way. All right, get back on there. Get on there. See if we can keep this kind of square. That ought to be good enough. All right, there we got it all rolled out. All right, sorry. This is what I'm going to use to cut them out in. We got this several years ago. I think they were having a special at Arby's where if you ordered 2 Arby's, you got the big gulp 20 ounce. But it's the perfect size to cut out these hamburger buns because we like the larger hamburger buns. I don't know if it'll quite make 20 or not. But anyway, I'm using the cup. Sorry you couldn't see that. There we go. Just do it and then squiggle it around a little bit. There you have it. Perfect little hamburger bun. Ready for the next one. And then just turn the cup a little bit. Of course, you can find these at any convenience store, but this is the right size if you want the larger bun. I'm putting these on a greased cookie sheet that I've got right over there. So it looks like I'm going to be able to get six of them on one. Really, it's a jelly roll pan. There you go. And by letting the dough rise 2 different times, that way you can make them a little more light and airy, you know? See if I can get 1 more or 2 more out of this. Yep. Well, that one didn't want to come. There we go. All right, there's what the first pan looks like. All right, I'm going to do the next pan, and I'm going to do the hot dog buns. So we'll be back when I get ready to do the hot dog buns. All right, so we've got 12 of the hamburger buns all cut out. Now we're going to use the rest of this dough for hot dog buns. Mr. Buggy got some veggie hot dogs at Whole Foods the other day, so he wanted me to make him some homemade hot dog buns. So that's what we'll do with this. So you just want to kind of mix up all that's left over, kind of knead it together as best you can. And then we're going to try to roll that one out. Put a little flour on it. Start rolling it out. It's a little more difficult to roll out once you put the dough back together, but it can be done. Just have to use a little more elbow grease. See if I can get at least six out of this or more. Get it more of in a sort of a square, if I can. All right, like that. And roll it some more. I think that's about as good as I'm going to be able to get it. Now I've already greased another pan. All right, let me get the hot dogs to make sure about the lip. Well, I'm glad I checked those because they are actually longer. He got Light Life Smart Dogs Jumbo. All right, so I'm going to kind of look at that and determine, let's see how many I've got in there. There's 5. All right, so let's see if I can cut this. Right there. Pull this off. And then I'm going to try to make them all consistent if I can. All right. A little and cut this into 5 equal sections. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. I'll just do it in half. All right, in half, and then in thirds. So I'll actually make 6. All right, I'm just going to place them on the greased sheet. And these little end pieces I cut off, I'm going to go ahead and use those too. Just mashing them out. I'll use this one too. Making them kind of look like a hot dog bun. We got one little teeny piece left, but I'm going to cook that too because it'll all be good. Alright, so we are now ready to put these in the oven. And let me just advise on this. If you use Crisco to grease your pan or any type of shortening, they won't slip and slide around. If you use that spray, they kind of tend to slip and slide around, or certainly if you use oil, so better to use, a shortening. All right. Here, I'll take it off and let you go see. All right. So there they are. They're the hot dogs. Let me back up. All right, they're the hot dog rolls. There are the hamburger rolls. So I've got 12 hamburger rolls. And I'm going to put these in the oven. And I'm going to put a pan of hot water in the very bottom of the oven and let all these rise. And when they rise up, maybe 30, maybe 45 minutes, maybe even an hour, because it's really cold today. But once they rise up, I'll show you what they look like, and that's when we're going to cook them. All right, so be back in a minute. Okay, my hamburger buns have risen, and I'm going to just brush them with a little melted butter. Now, you don't want your butter hot. I want to brush them with butter so they'll have a real pretty, nice brown top. You want to be real gentle with them. And what I'm going to do is start them out in a cold oven, really. And they'll rise a little bit more while the oven is heating up. So I'm going to set the oven on 375 degrees. And these will need to cook for about 20 minutes. Now, because I've got a really small oven, it's just like a wall type oven because we were downsizing and I couldn't see that I needed a big oven anymore. That was a mistake. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is cook one of these on the bottom rack and one on the top, and then about halfway through the cooking, I'm going to switch them. And these are being made on the little jelly roll pans, and they're very thick on the bottom, very thick. So I can actually cook stuff on my bottom rack, but I want the bottom and the top the same, brownness. All right, and now remember, these are thin hamburger buns. Now there are the hot dog buns, and while I'm here with the butter, I'm going to go ahead and brush those too. But these are going to have to wait until my hamburger buns are done. But I am going to go ahead and brush them. Now these have been sitting on the little hot pad, so they have risen up pretty well. So I'm going to put the little, we'll save this butter and brush them again with the hamburger buns when they come out of the oven. And you do that because you want the tops to remain soft. Although when they get, if they're hard, I like them too, but anyway, generally speaking, you want the hamburger bun soft and the hot dog bun. All right, and we'll put these in the oven, and when they get done, we'll be back. Okay, here are the first of the hamburger buns. I just took these out of the oven, and we're going to let them cool completely before we slice them. And I'm finishing up with the other hamburger buns are right ready to come out. So I'm going to slip these over a little bit. And I did have to keep switching them back and forth between the bottom and the top rack because my oven won't hold two of these large pans. I know we've downsized, and that's why we've got a small oven now. Okay, here's the next group, and I am going to leave them sitting on the pan to cool so the tops will remain really soft. All right, I'm going to put these hot dog buns in. Here they are, and we'll be back when all this is done and cooled. Okay, the hot dog buns are also done now, and I'm going to also let those cool right on the pan. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make us a little ham and cheese for supper tonight using these buns. So I'm going to put a little mayonnaise. These have already cooled. On one side. And a simple ham and cheese with a little tomato on it is quite delicious when the bun is homemade. All right, so I'm going to put the tops right over here. And you all see that? I'm going to put some ham on there. And then these are just going to go under the little toaster oven broiler long enough to melt the cheese. And this is cheddar cheese, a small little pack of cheddar. And once they come out of the oven, we'll put some of these really super thin sliced tomatoes on there. And I don't have any lettuce, but even if I had some, I wouldn't put it on this sandwich. All right, we'll be back when this is ready. Okay, I melted the little cheddar cheese on the little sandwich, and I'm going to put some real super thin sliced tomatoes on it. Now it's still hot, so it's going to almost cook these little super thin slices of tomato, which I love. And I've already put some mayonnaise on the other half of the bun. Right. All right, we are just about ready to eat. There it is. Can y'all see that? Really, really good. And a super thin little hamburger bun. The hot dog buns, of course, are thicker, but of course they need to be thicker because they're going to hold a big hot dog. But I like these super thin hamburger buns, and sometimes, of course, I make the pita bread, but this is more of a softer bread that's really a little easier to chew than the pita bread is. All right, we will see y'all next time. Now, I just want to say, it does take a while to fix the hamburger buns this way, because I punch them down and let them rise up again, but that's also what makes them so light and airy. All right, we'll see y'all next time.